Welcome back to the Lost Tactician. Today we're stepping into a wartime kitchen where every crumb carried weight, where a tablespoon of fat was liquid gold, and where survival was measured in ounces. Think your grocery bill is challenging. Imagine feeding your family with just 2 ounces of butter per week, 1 fresh egg if you were lucky, and meat so scarce it became a memory. This is honestly a masterclass in human adaptability, where cooks transformed deprivation into sustenance and turned scarcity into an art form. When Britain declared war in September 1939, German U-boats hunted the merchant vessels carrying Britain's food supply. By January 1940, rationing began: 4 ounces of bacon weekly, 2 ounces of butter, 8 ounces of sugar, and 1 shilling's worth of meat, roughly 2 small chops. Children received 1 fresh egg per week. Adults got powdered egg, a yellowish substance barely resembling the real thing. Food became an obsession. Housewives queued for hours, hoping for unrationed goods, onions perhaps, or tinned fruit from America. The constant anxiety of stretching meager supplies, of watching children grow thin, was the invisible battlefield where millions fought daily. Yet from this deprivation emerged a fierce determination to maintain dignity and even, well, a bit of pleasure at the table. The wartime kitchen operated on one principle: nothing could be wasted. Potato peelings made stock. Stale bread became breadcrumbs. Bacon grease was stored like treasure for frying or enriching soups. Fat was the currency of survival. 9 calories per gram compared to 4 for protein or carbohydrates. Substitution really became an art form during the war. When meat pretty much vanished from the shops, cooks got creative and came up with mock duck, that was lentils and breadcrumbs, all wrapped in bacon strips. And, carrots became the unexpected heroes. They were transformed into things like carrot fudge, which was basically grated carrots cooked with just a bit of sugar and some margarine until it sort of resembled candy. The Ministry of Food even created Dr. Carrot to promote these vegetables as, well, superfoods. Starches formed the foundation of the wartime diet, since potatoes, bread and oats were, for the most part, unrationed. The national loaf, made from high-extraction flour, was a bit greyish and dense, but it was packed with nutrition. Potatoes showed up at every meal, providing about 200 calories and that all-important vitamin C. Oats, too, were essential. They kept factory workers going through those long, exhausting shifts. Woolton pie really exemplifies wartime ingenuity. It was created by the chef at the Savoy Hotel and named after the Minister of Food. This vegetable pie used only unrationed ingredients: potatoes, cauliflower, carrots and spring onions, all cooked up with oatmeal, then topped with mashed potatoes and baked until golden. Cooks could swap in whatever vegetables they had on hand, making genuinely satisfying meals without dipping into their precious ration points. Victory gardens, transformed urban landscapes into farmland. Parks, and believe it or not, even the Tower of London's moat grew vegetables. Runner beans were pickled, tomatoes became chutneys, and leftovers were fried into bubble and squeak, dishes that were honestly surprisingly delicious. Desserts really challenged cooks. When sugar was rationed to just 8 ounces weekly, they got creative, using mashed dates, grated apple, or even parsnips for sweetness. Custards relied on dried egg powder, flavoured with a touch of vanilla, and mock cream, that was margarine whisked with milk and sugar, did a decent job of resembling whipped cream. These weren't exactly luxuries, but more like psychological necessities, offering small moments of sweetness amid all the hardship. Communities truly banded together. British restaurants served subsidised meals to workers and bombed-out families, simple stews and puddings that, well, represented collective responsibility for feeding the nation. Women shared recipes over fences, swapped tips in queues, and pooled ration coupons, creating these wonderful networks of mutual support. The Ministry of Food launched propaganda campaigns too, with radio programs, leaflets, and those food facts newspaper columns, all aimed at helping people make the most of what little they had. Dig for Victory was more than just a campaign. It taught cultivation and preservation, transforming millions into productive gardeners. This remarkable effort succeeded by appealing to both patriotism and self-interest, turning resourceful cooking into a form of resistance against enemy blockades. This legacy, you see, shaped entire generations. Those who came of age during the era of rationing learned that food was precious and waste was, well, quite shameful. Rationing continued until 1954, embedding these practices as a sort of cultural memory. Even today, many elderly Britons save bread crusts and reuse cooking fat, carrying forward the lessons learned when every calorie truly counted. Now, modern households waste a staggering 30% of purchased food, something that would surely horrify wartime cooks. Their strategies, like planning meals around available ingredients, using leftovers creatively, and preserving seasonal abundance, are precisely what sustainable eating advocates now promote. Eating seasonally and locally, once dictated by wartime necessity, is now recognized as environmentally essential. Budget-conscious cooks today can learn practical techniques from the past, extending proteins with lentils and oats, one-pot meals that develop flavor while saving fuel, and saving vegetable scraps for stock. It's all about making the most of what you have, isn't it? But, the deepest lesson here is really philosophical. Those cooks faced genuine scarcity and responded with, creativity, community, and resilience. They proved that humans can adapt, find satisfaction in simplicity, and maintain dignity even when circumstances threaten to strip it away. The secret recipes of the Second World War weren't actually secret. They were shouted from radios, printed in newspapers, and shared between neighbors. Every carrot cake, every Woolton pie, every carefully hoarded spoonful of bacon fat was, in its own way, an act of defiance against forces seeking to starve nations into submission. So, as you return to your kitchen, try to see it as a potential site of creativity. Remember those cooks who transformed wilted vegetables and stale bread into real nourishment. Their wisdom isn't merely a historical curiosity, but rather practical guidance for, uncertain times. We honor their ingenuity by learning from their resilience and building more sustainable relationships with our food. Subscribe to The Lost Tactician to never miss our explorations of forgotten knowledge. The past isn't dead. It's actually a living resource, just waiting to teach us how to face whatever challenges lie ahead. Until then, keep digging for truth and keep learning from those who came before.